Hello, ladies and gentlemen. A warm welcome to the 13th edition of the GHATCA Technical Webinar Series. Wilhelm Sakite is my name. I'm an air traffic controller with the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority, and I will be your host for today. Let's start with a short prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for today's webinar. Please guide the deliberations and deepen our understanding of content that is going to be shared. Amen. Project management is the cornerstone to the successful delivery of any project. Yet, in many instances, it is not given the priority it deserves. The vast number of failed projects around us is testament to the lack of importance attached to the ideals of project management in the execution of such projects. I learned of an airport project in a European country that had run for over a decade and had still not been completed. In fact, commissioning of the airport for use has been postponed so many times that some have lost interest in it altogether. Why do so many high-priority projects in high-stakes industries, such as aviation, collapse before reaching the finish line? In the aviation sector, where safety, efficiency, and performance are non-negotiable, project failure is not just costly, it is consequential to disaster. Join us for the first episode of this technical webinar series under the theme, Why Projects Fall Apart and How to Fix Them. In this session, we shall delve deep into the critical foundations of project management, and we shall also get to learn a lot from great resource persons that we have chosen for today. We shall also learn the hidden reasons projects fail, real-world project management pitfalls and how to avoid them, key principles every decision maker can apply to lead projects successfully and avoid costly pitfalls, practical insights to improve the initiating, planning, execution, monitoring, controlling, and closing of projects, why skipping project scope, schedule, cost, and quality management is a direct path to failure. We shall also learn the importance of resource management, why safety risk management is essential right from the onset of projects, why proper communications and stakeholder engagement are imperative to project success. Before I introduce the first speaker, please take note of the following information. You can follow GHATCA on our social media handles and send feedback regarding this webinar to info@ghatka.org. This webinar will be uploaded onto the GHATCA website, www.ghatka.org, as well as our YouTube channel. If you have just joined us, please introduce yourself on the chat page, and I will do well to acknowledge you. You can send questions to the Q&A chat box, and I will get our panelists to answer them during the Q&A session. Our first panelist, Mr. Eric Abuaji, is the founder and chief executive officer of Expert Project Consult Limited. He has a solid reputation as a result-driven project management practitioner with strong interpersonal skills devoted to advancing international best practices of project management across the globe in a conscious manner. He is PMP certified and a certified badge instructor by Project Management Institute. He also holds a certificate in ICAO training instructor course. Eric has over 13 years experience in corporate development and has conducted several public and in-house trainings on PMP certifications. Eric holds a master's in financial economics from Ohio University in the USA, a bachelor's degree in business administration with a concentration in banking and finance from Valley View University, Ghana, a diploma in project management from Institute of Commercial Management, Bournemouth, England, as well as a certificate in consulting practice from Ghana Institute of Consulting. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Mr. Eric Abuaji.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Abuaji, there is this whole talk about project management and how essential it is to every project. This morning, we are all ears. Tell us why project management is so essential.
Thank you very much for such an offer, Sir Willie. This is not by accident for us to meet on this platform. Project management, as you rightly stated, is an indispensable certificate that helps individual to excel, that helps division or unit to also excel, that also helps the organization to rather excel. I'll begin with this inspiration. The greatest danger in times of turbulence is not the turbulence itself, is to you acting with yesterday's logic. So anytime you act with yesterday's logic, there's no way new doors will be opening for you. A lot of organizations fail on projects. A lot of unit division fails on project because we are holding on to yesterday's logic. A lot even hold on to some misconceptions, as we can see from the screen. People ascribe and believe that every manager can be a project manager. Research will tell and show you that it's not every manager who can be project manager, but project managers can be ever great managers. To be a project manager, you need certain skill, you need certain knowledge, and you should be able to imbibe into the best practices. We are going to dive into that. Project management is not about all paperwork, it is about people management. So when people keeps on telling us that project is about people, project is about paper, it is not only paper, it's about people management. Without the people being the denominator of project success, the project is going to fail. And you can attest to the fact that a lot of projects are failing because we don't engage our stakeholders adequately. Project management, you need not to get a lot of experience in the field. Yours is a resource mobilizer. So it is not only a certificate for construction industry, neither engineering, but it is applicable in all industries. You'll be interested to know what the PMP certificate is about. Why are we saying this certificate is indispensable in the 21st century? This is a certificate that revolves around 10 different disciplines. So every industry you go and work with them, the certificate is really needed. In fact, it is a gold mine for recruiters now, and every manager, anybody in a managerial role needs to understand what project management is about. One way or the other, you are managing your life. You are managing people under your division, and you are being expected to contribute to the organizational success, and you need the practical knowledge of project management. The 10 thematic areas of project management is what we are sharing now. We begin with scope management. A lot of our projects has failed because we were not able to set the boundaries right. We were not able to say what is in and what is out. Before you realize, the team members might have added insidiously what you haven't authorized. When you fail to set the boundaries, what is in, what is out, the project is going to fail. We are not able to prioritize projects in this volatile world of ours. In aviation space, you know volumes of air traffic, you know runway recursions, a lot of unforeseen circumstances is going to happen. Because of volatility, because of unforeseen, we need to prioritize our activities so that the congestion at our airports will be reduced. Cost management, how are we going to manage the cost prudently? Project manager add on to costs, and project manager cannot justify why we need this amount of money. Project management, we don't do padding. When I say padding, it means you are adding on to cost without proper justification. A lot of project managers are doing guesstimating. They guess and come out with budget. For your project to meet success, you should be able to go through cost estimation properly. Quality is also a thematic area that is needed. What do we see on our project? Project managers and the team are waiting. At the tail end of the project, they are going to inspect the work that has been done. This is not a good practice in project management. Our projects are failing because instead of us to plan quality in the project, we are rather inspecting quality at the tail end of the project. And when you inspect quality at the tail end of the project, you are going to incur a lot of costs. Resource management. How will you be able to get the right resource for the right job at the right time? Project manager needs to get the right team who understand the work, coach and mentor them. We grow by inches. You know, at the corporate level, it is your duty as a leader, it's a duty as a project manager, it's your duty as a leader to emulate good example, show the path, have positive impact on your team. Resource management, they will be able to meet the challenge of project we are talking about. Letting the word go, communication. When we talk of communication in project management, we are referring to effective communication and efficient communication. Most of the times, we are not able to communicate. Project manager assumes that he knows it all, but how are you going to communicate the only needed information? Project management will educate you for that. Communicating the right information to the right audience for the right impact. Most of the times, managers who find themselves in project management, either project management met them on their way or they have been promoted wrongly. So communication is a challenge for them. Risk management is also a factor. Risk management, because of uncertainty, the project manager should have a buffer, contingency for time, contingency for cost. If you don't have alternative plans, what you'll be resorting to is calling your team for meeting. And project, you should be preparing for the unknown. Procurement, no matter how well you may be, you will need a resource outside. And what type of contract are we going to use? We do get conflict within a team simply because we don't have team charter. Every team, we are now advocating that the team is supposed to be highly perform team, or we are talking about high performance team. And for you to ensure high performing team is going to be achieved on the project, you should be able to understand stakeholder diversity. Your interest is not my interest. Your like is never my like. Your perception is not my perception. Until we understand stakeholder diversity, we cannot move very well into project. So as you see clearly, project management is applicable in any industry you can think of. Aerospace is there. Aviation sector, you are doing project. Oil and gas, construction, engineering, every industry, your life is a project. Your family life is a project. Your church you belong to is a project. The community you find yourself is a project. Your unit, your division, you also run a project. So this is to say project management is applicable in every industry you can think of. Utility is there, religious body, they also do projects, supply and chain logistics, every industry, they do projects. So having seen the industry that runs projects, let's discuss a bit of project management and the certificate. In fact, when you talk of PMP, it is being administered by PMI. And when you say PMI, that is the Project Management Institute. And this Project Management Institute, the headquarters is Pennsylvania, USA. My interest is what the certificate is about. So you can see bullet 4. The certificate is about people orientation. How do you manage your team? How do you solve conflict? How do you build them up? How do you disseminate information? This is about people orientation skills. Then you need to understand the environment in which you apply your trade. Is it a flat organization or is a hierarchy? We have to also understand the business environment and the processes. So a lot of people are now doing project management simply because of some advantages. Because this is a webinar, I may hit on only 3. Project certification is universally recognized. So when you talk of BMP, everywhere globally, it is known. It is being practiced in 223 countries. And this certificate also gives a higher income and it proves your credibility. So once you get a PMP certificate, everybody will get to know that you'll be able to execute project right. So when you say the PMP certificates, what really are we talking about when we say project management? As you can see my screen, let me really touch on the most important thing here. You can see clearly that is the application of knowledge, skill, tool, and technique to meet project requirements. I must be frank here that if you are not able to meet project requirement, you have done mere management. And a lot of project managers, they call themselves certified project managers. They are not being able to execute project requirements. They don't know what even the requirement is about, and they are managing projects. Why should the project manager execute the project right? There is a need. There's an issue. And that issue to be tackled is about stakeholder, their requirements. You should be able to live within the business environment. For you to be successful, there are some soft skills you need. What is your leadership skill? Can you lead people to the goal? Can you communicate right? Do you understand yourself? Emotional intelligence. If you don't understand yourself, you cannot work with people. Know your weakness. Know your strength. Team building skills. You should understand team building stages, how to solve problems. Conflict is going to be inevitable on projects, but when conflict arises, how will you solve it? We will talk about it. Now, let's see the main reasons behind project failure. The discussion is centered on why projects fall apart and how to fix them. Projects fall apart because of these three issues. One is the attitude of the project manager. A lot of project managers assume that, oh, once I've been appointed, I can do it all. But every organization, for it to excel in the space of project management, there should be establishment of project management office. And this project of management office should be managed and run by certified project managers. Two, knowledge. Some project managers lack the knowledge. They lack the knowledge because instead of them to engage stakeholders, they want to do the work at all. Project management, you should build a trust within your team. Solicit information from your team. Engage experts. We call it DEFI technique. So as you bring experts on board, the expert will help you to execute what is being needed. The skill of the project manager is not also up to the task. Organizations keep on promoting people wrongly. Halo effects. Because you have excelled in other businesses, because you have done very well in the past project, they keep on promoting managers to a position of project manager. And this is causing project failure. So these are some hidden reasons why project fail. Having seen the main three, we can narrow it here. Changes in organizational priorities. We don't stay focused. Every quarter, there's something new we are doing. And if we keep on changing the priorities within the organization, we can never excel in the space of project management. It keeps on changing, poor vision and goal, resource dependency, poor people management and communicate. All these are contributing factors. But my main issue here is halo effect. Accidental project managers have been promoted. And out of 10 thematic areas, they are very good in one. People orientation skills, they lack it. Basic accounting stuff, they lack it. Effective communication skills, they lack it. Procurement, they don't understand contract terminologies, they lack it. Quality issues, they don't know what quality is about. So they have been promoted wrongly, and that is called halo effect. This halo effect is causing a lot of projects to fail. To cite example, you ask yourself, how come a tarmac or a runway be in this nature? So there are a lot of WH questions you ask yourself. Why did it occur? How come? Who caused it? Why and when? Anytime you can answer these WH questions, it means the project has been planned well. When the project is not well planned, you are going to see images of this nature. A whole tarmac, a whole runway. Look at the state in which it is now. How can aircrafts move on this runway? So are you going to blame the project manager or you are going to blame the team? All these are classical examples of project challenges. You heard of a collapsed airport. I don't want to mention the country, you know of it. How can a project manager do a work, commission the work, within a year or two, the project collapse? Were we doing effective monitoring and evaluation? Was the project manager engaging the stakeholders, doing retrospective session? Were we assessing the work, doing variance analysis, checking what we plan as against what has come actual? We leave the team on site, we go and commission. Without thorough investigation, the project has been commissioned. And this is the end of the project. A lot of project has been also abandoned simply because the justification, the rationale behind why the project needs to be done was not done. At the end of the way, midway the project, executing stage, when we have already committed resources into the project is being abandoned. And a lot of projects have been abandoned in this way, just to show you feel. So project keeps on failing simply because project manager lack the skill. That's the knowledge. Then the competency is also not right. What happens if the project fails? There will be rework. And project management space, anytime you are going to do rework, it calls for another funds. Cost will be escalating. Repair work is not really encouraging. So do what you have planned and stay within the plan. Staying within the plan, you execute what is being expected of you. Cost overrun. Anytime the project slips from its normal course, there will be cost overrun. You will be incurring a lot of unnecessary costs. Schedule slippage. You move from schedule. As we have planned, either the project will be behind schedule or we cannot meet it. Timelines will go off. When you go off timeline, you know the cost you are going to incur. Stakeholders are going to be dissatisfied. And when stakeholders are dissatisfied, they will not give you repetitive business. You may lose your reputation. In aviation space, if you lose your reputation, you know how it is going to cost you. Not even in aviation alone, all departments, people are holding you here because of the image, because of your reputation. So if you don't stay within the budget, don't stay within the scope, don't stay within the cost, within the schedule, within the quality specification, the project will go off gear. How are we going to then get it fixed? There is a generic life cycle in project management, and every project manager appointed should lead the team to go through this fight. The first stage is called initiating stage. At initiating stage, there should be a mandate, and that mandate is called a project charter, statement of work, terms of reference, or definition of reports. This tells you the justification why we are doing the project. It tells you who owns the project, and it tells you the mandate that has been given to you, the project manager. Once that mandate is given you, you will be able to know the major stakeholders who will come into play as the project will be unfolding. So initiating stage, don't start a project without a charter. And a lot of projects are failed because the project manager came in midway without a charter. And I can assure you that project will fail. The second stage is the planning stage. As you can see the arrow, it moves forward and backwards. Others just go one way direction. The one that goes forward and backward tells you that project is cyclical in movement. Planning is cyclical. You plan today, you revise the plan, you add on to, you compare to the plan. then you move alongside with it. You come to executing. After executing, when you realize that things are not being right, you go back to planning, revise the plan, then you add on to monitoring and evaluation of monitoring and controlling. We are tracking the records. Are we on course? Have we deviated? Why did we deviate? Why are we far ahead? So you are checking for variances. This is the stage the project manager you'll be asking for why. Why are we over budget? Why are we under plan cost? Why are we ahead of the project? Why is the team disintegration becoming so much on the project? You need to be discussing this with your team and find out a solution. Then we go on to the post-mortem stage of the project, which is called closing stage. A lot of projects has repeated its mistakes because lessons learned were not documented. Retrospective sessions were not done. Often, it is only the project manager who documents this alone. Practice says you should do the lessons learned with your team. You and the project team should write what was right, what was wrong with your team. So to solve it, one is to establish a project management plan. And the project management plan is supposed to be a BAF plan. And when you say a BAF plan, buy all stakeholders into the project. Why are we doing this? Engage them, create the awareness, buy them into the project, get their commitment. That is for the B. The A is supposed to be approved by senior management. Research shows that when you do a project, management by objectives, when management gives you the support, the project is going to be successful. Projects are failing because the project manager is doing his own activities without the notices of senior management. Is it realistic? And is it formal? All project documents supposed to be documented, written, so that we can track it. Requirement traceability matrix. We will find a way to track it to see what did we plan and what has come as an action. So the first thing is to get a BAF plan whereby management have bought into the idea, ensure stakeholder engagement, check their communication style. Should I WhatsApp you the information? Should I send through the email? What will be the appropriate time for our meeting? Engage them adequately. Know their wants, know their like and dislike, because needs plus want is equal to expectation. And if you don't know the expectation of your stakeholder, trust me, your project is going to fail. You should be able to get REX responses. REX will come onto the project. Some REX will be positive, some REX is going to be negative. So if it's positive, we should be having a buffer, contingency for time, contingency for cost. So you should be having plan B. We call it fallback plan. And this fallback plan, it should be assessing the risks. Should we accept? Should we mitigate? As you can see, the fourth point says you should be having or conducting retrospective session. At each phase of the project, you should be doing lessons learned. Lessons learned, we are documenting what was right, what was wrong. If opportunity is given us again, how are we going to correct our mistakes? The last of it all is establishment of enterprise project management office. In fact, in aviation space, in every jurisdiction, if we really want to do project rights at the first time, we should be able to establish project management office. And project management office is the custodian of all project artifacts, all project records, all project information should be under their domain. And they should be guiding project managers appointed. They should be forecasting and assisting project managers. You can think of this. If an organization is not having enterprise project management office, how do you expect them to execute project rights? If you don't have a standardized office managing projects, how do you expect us to do rights? Who is training us? And where do we have our project records? Some institution you go, you tell them, can we find out the last contractor who worked on this artifact, who works on this building, and the records cannot be traced. We cannot know how much it was being spent. The team who worked on it cannot be traced, and it serves as historical information. So the bottom line is we should be able to establish Enterprise Project Management Office. This is just a webinar. So to end my session, I will welcome you to GHATCA, whereby we do project management training online and in person. Project Management Institute has approved GHATCA to do training. So we are authorized training partners. So when you come over, we have affiliation with Project Management Institute, PAO is there, IATA is there, a lot of them. So we are credible to run training. Whether you want a team to move to your country to train your team, we are ever ready to come. Whether you bring them to Accra in Ghana, we are ready to do. Whether you want to join us online, ever ready to help you out. Our focus is to make sure institutions, departments, individuals will run projects successfully. Why do you have to train with GHATCA? Training with GHATCA, we have badge, aviation, certified instructors. Instructors being badge means they are already PMP certified and they have also written exams for PMP, PMI to badge them. So you go to other countries, you go to other institutions, training centers, their instructors are not badged. We can assure you that you will get your end result. So we are having badge instructors, approved training center, conducive training environment, and we have flexible payment terms at GHATCA. Just to end my session, we also have customized aviation project management course, which is running. If you are interested in aviation project management customized, GHATCA is running it. So you can bring your team. We will do aviation project management, which is different from the normal PMP. So we run two types of project management courses at GHATCA. Aviation project management is there. Then we do general project management. So these are our contact details. Any of them you can reach us on, we will be able to respond. So, Sir Willie, thank you very much for this opportunity given me. I was told I have to work within only 25 minutes. So I will pause here, then hand the baton to you again whilst I wait on questions. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to run participants through why project fails and how to get them solved. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eric. Oh, what an insightful and educative presentation you have given us today. I've learned so much. I'm sure the participants have learned a lot. At least I know that not every manager is a project manager. You would have to really be trained and you must have the skills. I've also learned that in every organization, once you will be doing projects, you must have a project management office. And another thing that I learned is that halo effect always destroys projects. Thank you very much, Mr. Eric Abuaje. And I'm sure there are a lot of questions that are coming up for you, and we'll have them in the Q&A session. At this time, I would like to acknowledge a few people who have said hello to me in the chat box. We have Mr. David Ekwama Boatin. He is the Director of Air Traffic Services at the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority. Mr. Ekwama Boatin, you are welcome. We also have Dr. Bello. Dr. Baj Bello is an ATC from Nigeria. Hello, Dr. Bello. It's good to have you. And we have Elias Simpemba. I hope I got the name correct. He is from Zambia. Thank you, Elias, for joining us. We have Francis Ama Mensah. He is the former GHATCA president, immediate past GHATCA president, and he's an ATCO here in Ghana. Francis, it's good to have you with us. We have Captain Michael Labi. Captain Michael Labi is with the Africa World Airlines based here in Ghana. And we have Abilio Pinto da Cruz. I hope I got it correct, Abilio. He is a director for the Angolan ATCO. I believe Director for the Air Traffic Services in Angola. It's good to have you, Abilio Pinto da Cruz. And we have Mehdi Deburi. I hope I got the name correct. He is an ATCO from Algeria. Thank you so much for joining in. If you've just joined in or have not mentioned your name yet, just give me an indication. I'll do well to acknowledge you. So our second panelist for today is Mr. Ben Keynes. Mr. Ben Keynes is an aerospace professional with 30 years of aviation experience, including more than 20 years of operational experience as an air traffic controller at some of the world's busiest airports. He has a strong passion for training and development and human factors. His portfolio of qualifications complements his commitment to high-quality operational performance and training delivery. He is recognized as an effective communicator and an attentive tutor. With experience working globally in a wide variety of roles, Ben has a robust understanding of different cultures and operational challenges. Ladies and gentlemen, help me to welcome Mr. Ben Keynes. Ben, good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are. It's good to have you today. And I forgot to mention that Ben works with Skynav. Sorry. Yep. Skynav, yes. I almost made a mistake with that. He works with Skynav.
Hopefully it's showing above my shoulder, hopefully. Yeah, hello everybody. Firstly, thanks Wilhelm and GHATCA for having me here. Were you planning on doing a separate introduction for Duncan before we present, or would you like me to hand over to Duncan for an intro, Wilhelm?
Yes, okay, great. It's good to have Duncan here with us. Duncan is I'll call him the immediate past president and CEO of the International Federation of Air Traffic Controllers Association, IFATCA. And Duncan has served on the executive board for about 14 years. He's someone with a vast knowledge when it comes to aviation, when it comes to ATM, when it comes to air navigation service provision. So it's great to have Duncan also here. And great. I'll hand over to Duncan, and Ben, you can continue.
Go for it, Duncan.
Okay. Did you have a question for us, Willem, or?
Yes. I had one question that I think had come up. We talk about project management. It's project management only about construction of airports, construction of air navigation service air navigation service complexes, or what exactly goes into project management apart from these things?
So, well, good afternoon, everyone. Assalamu alaikum for those that matter. This afternoon here as well. That's an interesting question. So most people would consider that it is just building facilities, building control towers, terminals, runways, this kind of stuff. But that's part of the problem is, in ATM, we quite often see what you would consider as other projects, such as training programs that have been mismanaged, airspace redesign. I've seen airspace SID star complete airspace redesigns where the SIDs and stars are not separated from each other, these kinds of things. Or tower, painting the control tower which is more of a construction thing, but where it has to be evacuated because of the fumes. So part of the reason aviation is so safe is because we think about safety in everything we do, but we should also consider project management as part of what we do as well. More so maybe consider it change management. So everything we do, whether it's changing the carpet, buying new chairs, painting the walls, training programs or anything, is part of a change which includes project management and safety management and risk management and so on. So I think it's important for people to move away from the perception that it's only for, contractors and construction workers. It's something that forms part of everything that we do in aviation. When we manage change appropriately, we manage safety appropriately, and we end up with better outcomes, basically, ideally. Ben, do you want to follow up on that?
Yeah, certainly. Dunk's really touched on the main part, and your question highlights the Wilhelm, and Eric has also covered it already. It's really important that this is not just about only being involved with big infrastructure projects. It could be from the smallest thing, such as implementing FRMS or changing your staffing levels or the operational requirements. Delivering just a small amount of continuity training. So all of these require to some degree a level of project management to ensure that you've covered all of the necessary things that you need to cover, the risks, and ensuring that you're mitigating against and those potential flaws or the roof falling down, as Eric has shown us in his presentation. So we prepared a little a presentation as well, obviously, to go through that we'll go through in just a second for you guys. My keyboard isn't switching the slides. So I'll start by explaining a little bit about who we are. A lot of the guys, I think, in the chat know Duncan and myself from my FATCA work. We've worked with our friends and colleagues from GHATCA for many years now, and we've known the guys from the more operational control side through IFATCA. But Duncan and I now operate our own company. This is what we do as a day job. We provide aerospace consultancy, formed back in 2020, so we're fairly new, but we've got some pretty interesting and significant clients, such as ongoing work with Eurocontrol, and we've also done some work related with GCAA, for example. We have a main office based out of the UAE. That was where we were when we formed, but we also have offices in London and the UK. And we have expertise across all kinds of areas. So Duncan and I are operational controllers originally, but we have some test pilots, military guys, project management specialists, a whole a myriad of different skills in our team. To give you a brief, for those of you who don't know me, well, Wilhelm actually sort of gave my CV brief initially. Yeah, I've been a tower controller for over 20 years, London, Gatwick, in Sydney, in the Netherlands. So I've operated in all kinds of places, pretty busy places. I've seen the direct effect of effective or less effective project management through that. My specialisms are really in training and operational analysis, but I've also, obviously the project management element comes into that because it's a fundamental part of it. Duncan, do you want to give yourself, or should I give a rundown?
Yeah, I can do. So I know a lot of the names that were read out, so most of you probably know me. So I'm Australian, controller since 20 years now, or I haven't been controlling for the last few years. Oceanic procedural, high level, low level, non-radar and radar and approach control in Sydney, and then project management stuff in the background as well, risk management. Then regulator in the UAE for 7 years previously, and then now I've been contracting for Eurocontrol for the last 2 years, I suppose, on high altitude and space things, which is I'm at ICAO in Paris today. That's why I don't work for ICAO. It's because I'm in the building. I just finished a workshop. And like Willem said, for the last 14 years, I was with IFATCA, the International Federation for Air Traffic Controllers Associations, as the Vice President Technical, then Deputy President, then President. And through that also on ICAO panels, the ATM operations panel, since it was created 12 years ago. So anything basically that's come out in the last decade in PANS ATM or Annex 11 or any of the other annexes really related to ATC, I would have been involved in drafting that. So my specialty is ICAO, regulatory and operational procedures, basically. That's it.
So that's a brief overview of sort of who we are, just in case you guys don't know who we are and why we're here. So just to give an intro to something, we put together a sort of brief scenario. So I don't know exactly how many of you guys are controllers or were controllers, but I think you'll understand the concept. So Imagine you're a controller, particularly a tower controller. You're used to having a good view, right? The view is super important for the job. You're looking out, seeing the airport, seeing the aircraft, making sure that they're separated, how fast they're going. That's a key part of the job. Sitting there, looking out of your window. So you've got some vacation time coming up and you look forward to some time off. You book a nice holiday in a nice tropical place, nice hotel. You think, wouldn't it be nice? I'll have a room with a view over the beach and the mountains. It'd be fantastic. So of course, as an air traffic controller, right, you think of the worst case scenarios as part of what we do as our job. So you think, maybe they'll give me a room at the back of the hotel. Maybe it'll look over some buildings or something else. Like, that's not going to be quite so good. But yeah, that'll be okay. So you get to your hotel and oh, I don't have any view. I've got a window, but I've got no view. How on earth could this have happened? Like, why would you put a window against a wall? It just doesn't make sense. So you think to yourself, did anyone really consider the end user, the experience of this? Like, how would that have come around? Now, of course, with buildings and hotels, it's a complicated cost and design. There's a lot of factors in it. But you think to yourself, well, luckily this wouldn't happen in air traffic control, right? This certainly wouldn't happen in a control tower. And you think to yourself, hey, like, that would be crazy. Like, that would be ridiculous, just having a view facing the wrong way. So when you think about a control tower, this would be a pretty typical visual control room plan for those of you that don't know, the cab of the control tower. So it's big enough. You've got all the seats necessary, a desk for the supervisor, large windows, and you're all looking out of the window. That would seem pretty obvious, and I'm sure you're probably all agreeing with me. Yeah, that makes sense. So one of the Skynav teams was a safety inspector for a state regulator. And at one point they got some plans for a tower design through. And this is a mock-up, but this is what it was. So I guess you guys can probably see the issue here. The seats are facing the wrong way. Seems minor, but the seats are facing the wrong way. The computers are in the wrong place. By getting to this point, it should have gone through multiple layers of approval just to get to the safety inspector stage, yet it got to here. So where did this fall apart? And part of that is the project management side of things. It wasn't robust enough, or perhaps it didn't exist at all, and someone just had this created without any foresight into how the end product was going to be utilized or the potential risks in errors in the design. So from here, we'll go over a few of the sort of key points as to maybe how this kind of thing can happen, and then we'll expand a little bit more into how to avoid it. The basic key thing is that these things aren't just done and they end up good. Good design and successful projects come through effective project management. Dunk.
Yep, thanks, Ben. So, like Ben said, it was a mock-up of what was actually received. So there wasn't intent for them to actually build the desks facing the wrong way. It was just you'd say it's a schematic error from the consultants, the people that made the diagrams for them. Probably because whoever they asked to make a diagram has never been in a control tower and thought they would obviously be sitting at the desk. So that's fine. You understand how it happened. But the problem is you say, how did it make it through sign-off when you look at the signatures on the final submission, where it's gone through multiple layers of management and quality control, and no one has kind of picked that up? So either they haven't read it, or it's deemed that it's a minor thing and that's acceptable to submit to the authority for approval. So then you kind of question, is this a symptom of a larger problem? Is it poor project management? Is it poor quality control? Is it cultural issues where they don't really care what they're submitting to the authority? But we see all the time, I mean, those of you that have been tower controllers will know, and I haven't, but I know that quite often there's hangars built that obstruct the line of sight. There's new terminals where the new terminal will be built in such a way that they can't actually see the aircraft at certain bays. Or, for example, there was one tower, which was actually the same one, possibly, I may or may not know, where the original plan had the pillars that support the roof. When you looked at where the aerodrome controller would be sitting, the line of sight to the thresholds where the aircraft would be sitting waiting for takeoff were obstructed by the pillars. So just basic things like this that need to be considered when doing project management. It's a sign that quite often, like Eric said at the start, is stakeholder consultation. So when you're looking at misaligned, I should go back to the slide so I can see what's going on here. A little bit where management and stuff oversight when it goes through the sign-off process is they just, particularly managers that aren't operational, they don't really know. They just look at it and say, sign it off. Misaligned understanding, again, that was the case with the control tower schematics, was the person that made the schematics probably just didn't understand what they were looking at. They were told to build a schematic with some desks, and they did what they thought from the average street person where you would put the desk and the computer. We need to consider sometimes, you know, is it ergonomic? What about the glare? What about the paint on the ceiling? Does it carry static electricity? Connectivity points, particularly at ATC desks, because they all have computers everywhere now. You know, is there enough sockets in the wall? Does the amount of sockets, which was an issue at another airport I dealt with, the power supply for the tower wasn't designed. They upgraded to electronic desks and strips, but there wasn't enough electricity for the control tower anymore because it was never designed for that. So a lot of the time when they're designing the schematics or the project requirements, these are quite often done not by operational people. They're done by procurement departments or something like that. And they fail to consult with the operational people on what's actually required. We see that a lot around the world. Communication breakdowns and these kinds of things. Like Ben might have said, you know, visibility, what the average person thinks is what is good visibility is different to what we would consider in aviation, particularly from a controller perspective. So it's poor stakeholder engagement. That's one of the key things for project management all around the world that fails, is proper stakeholder engagement with the workforce, the controller community, first of all, but also the airlines and that, so on. But in particular, the people that actually going to be working with the thing. And that just ends in project failure. Quite often you'll end almost every aviation project is overrun in budget and time, yeah? So what happens is they come down at the end and they say, we need to save time, we need to save money, so let's cut some of the requirements out. So we're gonna remove this, we're gonna remove this, we're gonna remove this. So it reduces the capabilities of the system. And then basically at the end, because of what was essentially poor project management from the start, is you get a subpar system at the end that doesn't deliver what it was intended to deliver at the start, which sometimes even worse than what you had beforehand. That's a big issue. I think, Ben, you want to take over the next slide?
Sure. So
windows
again, between Dunk's sort of examples there, and obviously we're sort of also treading the same ground that Eric has already touched on, which hopefully emphasizes to you guys very much what we're saying. Of so many of these elements are overlooked. So what are the key success factors in trying to make sure that you don't fall into these holes? Now, obviously, all of us will agree the chance of getting everything perfect and on budget and on time is almost zero. But we have to try our hardest to try and get as close to that perfection as we can. That's what the key about this is. So we've got a number of sort of points here that are part of the consideration. So integration, the first one we have there, the guys have touched on it, is making sure that the whole project is coordinated, that all of the stakeholders, all of the resources, and all of the risk is integrated, that everybody's aware, or at least the people that need to be aware, the project management team are aware of all of those things, and the whole thing is joined up For example, you're putting in electronic strips. Don't just design the electronic strips and think about the operation, as Dunk's just pointed out. If you don't put the power sockets in, you can't run the strips. So you need all of these elements together in order to make sure that it runs properly. Scope, similar element there, defining clear boundaries, and Eric made some good points on this one. It's really important to set these out early. This is why the project management comes in. Understand where the boundaries are, what you're going to be doing and what you're not going to be doing. Scope creep is a known issue of things sort of moving further from what you initially designed or intended it to be. Once things start to creep, the budgets go up, the timing goes up, and then other elements of the projects fail, and then they all fall down. Time management, again, another element. It all links back in. Time management is a key part of it, making sure that the time is balanced between quality and cost. We'd all like everything to be perfect, but we'd all like everything done tomorrow. These things don't happen, but you have to get a balance between it. You can't keep working on something forever. Likewise, you shouldn't rush it through, because it will come through with flaws or with non-mitigated risks, and then the whole project falls down further down the line. Cost management, again, an obvious one. Budget control is important. You set the plan early, you have an appropriate project management team, you make sure that all of these things are in place, you set a budget, and that should include potential overrun quantities. And then you stick to those budgets. And then, you know, if need be, that gets reviewed later, but it's important to stick to the budgets and the scheme that you've designed during the project management phase. Quality management is about being realistic. Again, everyone wants everything and everyone wants it perfect, but it's important to set the realistic expectations. This is a balance with the budget element of being realistic about what it costs. If you want a Ferrari, you have to pay for Ferrari money. If you don't need the Ferrari, then you have to decide what the quality is, but understand that you'll pay less, but you won't get that same product. I'm not necessarily saying Ferrari is a good quality. I've never owned one, but hopefully you get my example. Making sure that you're realistic, that the things that the specifications that you've set can be verified and validated to make sure that the quality is hitting what you set it out to be. This is an area that we have a lot of experience in Skynav. We have members of the team who actually are significantly high up in testing and evaluation. One in particular is a test pilot. So we really have a good idea of making sure that the loop is closed at the end of the project, so to speak. HR management is another one. The people, again, Eric has already touched on these. It's about the people. That's one of the most important elements, making sure you've got the right skills, you've got the right expertise, but you've got the right crossover, that people are talking to each other, that they're harmonized, that the right people are discussing the right things, but also in the right way, that everyone understands and that everyone's working towards really clear objectives. Communication, kind of obvious, right? And all three of us have said it now. The key thing is communication, and the classic thing in communication, we hear it all the time in webinars like this. So we all know it, but whether we actually take it in, it's so important. Making sure that we're clear, making sure that we listen and understand the other parties, that we know clearly what we're trying to do, what they're trying to do, and what the project is trying to do and trying to achieve. Risk management, essential for trying to find those faults, those failure points. As I said just before starting this section, we're not going to get anything perfect, or at least it's unlikely. Maybe we will. But the key thing is to try and think of as many of those failure points as possible so that you have some kind of contingency plan, either a small amount of budget to cover any extra work, or a set of experts just in case you need to bring them in for a certain reason. Again, it's something that we have a lot of experience with ours. As Duncan says in particular, he's worked with a number of safety contracts, and he was a safety inspector, so he's been at the pointy end of risk management. Careful, Dunk, the pointy end's sharp. So we know it pretty well. So if you need any more examples, Duncan can talk to you for the rest of the day on that one. Procurement, again, it's the same thing, making sure that the right people understand what they're purchasing or understand what they're seeking, and they're getting the right thing in, not just saying, hey, I went to a fair and I saw this new system and this is what we're going to have. You need to make sure that you understand what that particular piece of software or that system's going to do, and does it align with the project? The thing you had in mind when you started this project might not actually be what comes out at the other end. And then just one last one in the ones that we have here, stakeholder management. And again, we've all touched on it. Appropriate engagement is really important, making sure that all the specifications fit every single person that's part of that puzzle. If you don't, then the system is going to fall apart. So all of these elements combined lead to successful projects. If you can cover all of these things, at least to the best of your ability, that should lead pretty well to success. Just like a tower controller needs an unobstructed view to ensure safety, a project team needs shared visibility on scope, risks, and outcomes to ensure success. Dunk?
Yeah. Oh, my battery's running low. Okay, sorry. So yeah, I think we've covered off most things. One thing to highlight also is change complexity. So you find that ANSPs or airports or whatever will do a project and they'll hire a certain amount of contractors or whatever for a project, replacing a runway or upgrading a taxiway or installing some lighting or whatever it may be. And then at the same time, they'll have another project doing something else. I was involved in the building of the new, if anyone's seen the new Abu Dhabi International Airport, I was involved in parts of that. And the complexities with so many things going on, the problem is that you assess normally they will assess the risk, the safety risk, the training needs, all these things in isolation for each project. And then it's only that the controllers will come into work and they'll find out that on this day, this gate's not available, this taxiway is not available. You have to have done these 4 training packages in the last 12 hours or 2 days or whatever it is because of these things. And each one of those in isolation seems fine, but when you put it all together, it makes, what we call change complexity quite dangerous. So the projects themselves need to be assessed, with their own merit. But then as a responsible ANSP or CAA, someone has to look at that from the overall perspective of, are all these things okay to be done at once? Do we spread them apart? Do we postpone one, or how does it work? That's just that thing. I mean, again, it's not just about engineering. Every project, how big, how large or small, should have some sort of project management to suit, the commensurate size of the project. It's not just a case of getting something done. It's about doing it properly and safely and well. I mean, we want the projects to come out and be done well. That's what we want in the end. Otherwise, we get things being missed, assumptions being made, and eventually a poor quality product being implemented in the end. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I'm not sure whether, Wilhelm, whether you want to do a separate questions section. I guess that's probably the plan. So maybe if we sort of skip this one, Dunk, just in case, and then because I have a feeling we may do just general questions, but just so that you guys have them. If you don't already, these are our details. It's just been said in the chat that the presentations will be made available on GHATCA's website, so you can access these. But if you want to take a photo now or a quick screenshot, obviously feel free. You can contact either of us or both of us or any of us if we can help you with anything, or if you have any projects that you need some help with, drop us a line, or if you just want to say hello.
Feel free to email or text us on WhatsApp or whatever. Try not to call in the middle of the night. I've had that before. Sorry.
Yeah. Or if you do want to call in the middle of the night, call Duncan and not me.
Yeah.
No.
I'll be awake. Thanks, guys.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much, Ben and Duncan, very, very insightful presentation you have given us here. And I already have a question for myself, and there are a lot of questions that have come about. One thing that I picked, in addition to all that has been said, is the need for stakeholder engagement. And a question is going to come up in that regard. And I would, at this time, just quickly acknowledge a few more people who have joined us. I can see we have Fred Gakuba. Fred Gakuba, he's the chief ATC at the Kigali International Airport. It's good to have you, Fred. We have Clifford Butchie. Clifford Butchie is with Zipline. Zipline, it's good to have you, Clifford. We have Alimami Said Kanu. Said is with Robatka, Liberia. Oh, that's great. It's good to have you, Alimami. We also have Josiah Edujan and Kwesi Edu Bediako. They are national service personnel, aspiring air traffic controllers here at Ghana Civil Aviation Authority. We have Yannick Konan. I hope I got the name correct. He's an ATC with Abidjan. We have Benjamin Adipa Tamaklo. He's at ATCO in Ghana, and he's also the GHATCA liaison officer for GHATCA. We have Mr. Abraham Lomote. He is the head of the Search and Rescue Unit at the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority. We also have Eugene Atta Akins, a seasoned air traffic controller in Ghana. Dorinda Saki Mensah. She is a senior air traffic controller in Ghana, and one of the few ladies we have here. We have Andy Sabla. Conrad also is here. Conrad is with the engineering section. And we have Mr. Relai Mensah. He's one of the senior air traffic controllers in Tamale, in the northern part of Ghana. It's good to have you all joining us. I'm sure you are learning a lot, and people from all over Africa, all over the world. And thank you to Duncan, thank you to Ben, and thank you to Eric for this insightful presentations. I'm sure we'll be having you in a few other webinars to throw more lights on other things that will come up. Okay, at this stage, I'll move on straight to the Q&A section. And we have Eric, we have Duncan, we have Ben with us. They will answer questions that may come up. They will also answer specific questions that are directed to them. And so I'll start with the first question that goes to Ben and Duncan. It says, many states in the AFRI region, that is the Africa and Middle East region, are preparing to implement UAS traffic management, that is the UTM systems. From your experience, what are some of the common pitfalls to avoid during UTM implementation? And he adds that, what practical advice would you offer to help ensure successful deployment? I don't know if you got a question. Ben.
Yeah, so certainly I can see it below you on the screen as well. Yeah.
Perfect.
So, I mean, fundamentally, of course, to lead it back into our presentations, both of our all of our presentations is project management, right? That's the theme of the webinar. There's a lot of assumption, I think, that goes into the management of UAS. And for example, it could either be from our side and from the professional side that, this just falls into normal traffic, so we don't need to do anything differently. On the flip side, there's also a big hole in a lot of legislation. If you look in the legislation, it's based on aircraft and the standard ATM, so to speak, that the UAS doesn't actually fall under. So one of the big things is trying to make sure that those are aligned, that there is some kind of UTM put in place, that we're not making assumptions that it is the same as one or the other. The performance can be different, the requirements can be different, and making sure that all of those elements are covered. Duncan's got a bit more direct experience with this, particularly in the working in the UAE. There was a lot of different drone stuff, so Dunk's probably, I'll hand over to him.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. Yeah, it's a good question, and it's one of the in things at the moment, has been for a while. The question would be is to first define what is it that you actually want. The problem in this industry, as we all know, is there's a lot of shiny vendors going around trying to sell you fancy systems with very impressive videos and screens and things. But whether that is going to address what you actually need is different. And it also varies from state to state. So it depends on your risk tolerance of what you accept in your country. Are you trying to address aircraft UAS approvals in uncontrolled airspace as a planning and public issue about noise and this kind of stuff, or are you trying to address UAS flights that operate in controlled airspace? In that context, are we talking about low-level flights like surveying, or are we talking about higher-level things such as high-altitude platform systems and these things that will be climbing up to 60,000 feet? They are still RPAS, yeah. So the thing is, check with the vendors is, and first of all, before you even approach the contractors or the vendors, you need to decide what is it that you actually want. What are the specifications? What are the functionalities that you need? And from a management perspective, they really need to involve the air traffic controllers and say, what do you need? For example, when I was in the UAE, it was, we need systems that have all the UAS on ADS-B and then displayed on the controller's screen. Now, if you picture Dubai city and how many small people are flying around with a drone in their backyard on any day, you'd be looking at a couple of hundred, yeah? And do you really think that the air traffic controller needs, 100, 200 drones on their screen that are at, roof height of buildings? If I have a 737 or a A380 at the top of my building height, I have bigger issues than whether it's going to hit a drone, yeah? So the question is, what do we actually need? What functionality do we need? Maybe they need changes in regulations before they start deciding on what systems they need to buy, because some states may want to change the regulations and say, we don't even care about approving drone flights that are outside controlled airspace. Maybe or maybe not. It depends. Different countries have taken different approaches. So these are the kinds of things where you need to decide a lot of this stuff beforehand, before you even approach a vendor and say, do you have a system? If you even need a system at all, you need to decide what you want. And then after that, it's proper project management of making sure that what they deliver to you is actually what you want, and not some version that's designed, to keep getting upgrades and, more money from you. But yes, that would be what it is my first step with anyone when they say we need a UTM system is, okay, sit down and wait and say, let's think about what you actually want from a functionality and specification perspective. And that matches with your regulations as well, which is what in the UAE we had to do. I was the regulation guy, so I had to write the regulations, and it was done half in half with deciding what it was. This was 5-6 years ago, so it took a while, but yes. Maybe Eric has something, or back to Willem.
Just to put in one last little thing, Dunk did touch on it. A lot of the conversation is about sort of low-level drones, and then also very high-level drones, UAS. But from just to give some example from real experience, when I was working in the tower in Sydney, and Dunk will have experienced this on approach, we would get drone reports from airliners above 8,000 feet. So they're not just the big ones at high level or the little ones in your garden. Like if people are flying it technically illegally, but they can fly actually to really quite significant heights. So it's not unrealistic even for potentially area controllers to actually have to deal with reports from drones that are either being illegally flown or there aren't any regulations for. So just a little example to say this covers all levels, actually, the UTM stuff.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I hope that the answer is satisfactory to the one who asked the question. If you need any clarification, you can just give a follow-up and they will be willing to attend to it. And maybe I'll direct this question to Eric. One of the things we are considering in this webinar is why projects fail and how to fix them. We want to find out, we have recognized that projects have failed. Is the solution just to introduce a project manager or bring in project management ideologies and boom, everything will be okay? Or is there more to it than we think?
Very much. There's more to it. One has to do with a project manager who is not really having the knowledge and has been promoted wrongly as I've been calling them, the accidental project managers. Two has to do with misaligned priorities. Before a project will be successful, the organization should be able to justify whether the project is a need. So you should be able to know the trigger that will bring the project to bear. This project came as a result of technological advancement. Technology has compelled us to do a project. So therefore, there's a bearing for us to do the project. There is a need. But if you just think of something to be done and that idea cannot be justified, the project is going to be failed. Another thing that will make the project successful is the project manager should be able to communicate the project mission and vision to the team members for the team members to support. So without getting the team members support, some team members are within the project space. They don't know why they were being selected. They don't know role they are playing. So to add up, there should be role and responsibility charts. What is my take? What is my role? What is my responsibility? Who do I report to? All these things will help the project to be successful. So if the project manager can communicate roles and responsibility, our vision, our mission, my role, and the team charter, the charter of the team, the governing rule, what are we going to use to govern the project? If it is well established by the team, the project is going to be successful. Backed by the project management office, project will never fail.
Once you have the project management office, your project will never, ever fail. And then we also understand that it is not a magical wand that is going to just be pushed over any failed project. Some work has to go into it, and that project will certainly succeed. Thank you very much, Eric. Our next question says, in ATM-related projects, what project management tools or frameworks have proven most successful?
Maybe you have.
Well, yeah, gosh, the project management tools. I mean, it's yeah. From my side, I've typically from the operational side dealt with things as the end user. What I can definitely say through experience is the thing that we're ramming home through this is the project management being done well is the key to it. In terms of specific tools, really, I think it's less the tools than well, the classic thing. It's less the tools than how you use them. So you could have the best software, but if you're not utilizing it, it's not going to achieve anything. Exactly what both of us have been saying with communication. If your communication's poor, you're not going to achieve anything, regardless of how good your tools are. So really, it's the method. I mean, Eric, I guess you probably have more experience with maybe different tools in the region.
Hello, Eric.
Is his mute locked? Maybe.
Yes, sir. I can hear you, boss.
Oh, okay. Yes. So we were wondering if you had some addition to the answer to the question, what project management tools or frameworks have proven most useful in ATM-related projects?
Sure. As my brother Ben said, in fact, some useful methods currently we are using to make projects successful is the agile approach or the adaptive approach. Currently, if you want to go by the generic lifestyle that every project we need to initiate, we need to plan, we need to execute, it will take a long time to execute. So we are now doing agility. Agility is introducing in flexibility. The little information available, we should work with it as we keep on refining. That is one of the approaches that is helping. And another thing that can help the organization move forward is we think of the nature of the projects. Should we use the hybrid? Some project we will be doing some installation. Some project will be doing physical infrastructure. So you think of what will be then applicable. Ideally, with the aerospace, what you do most is agile project. So agility should be encouraged in aviation projects.
Rightly put. The next question says, how do you balance strict deadlines with quality and safety, especially in resource-constrained environments? Maybe
I can take this if you want. We'll start it.
Yes.
Unless Eric, you want to do it, but
Okay, thank you for giving me the pass. How do you balance the strict deadline with quality and safety? You know, safety is priority. So how are we going to balance this? In fact, for projects, the timeline supposed to be the first source of conflict, as we all do agree. So if we know the timeline, we should be able to get a best resource who can live up to that expectation. Many a times we don't take our time to select the best candidates. We normally push somebody who is having a fair knowledge in there. So get the right person with the right knowledge, with the right competence. That timeline wouldn't be a problem. Timeline is going to be a problem when we start to fail from the scope point of view. If we don't know what we are doing, timeline will then be a bigger problem on the project. But if you know what we are to do, timeline wouldn't be a problem. In a sense that the team members are already competent, they understand the boundary, we stay focused, and we will be reviewing what we have been doing in sprint, short time pieces. So quality is going to be assured. Safety in project management goes in line with risk. We should be preparing, making sure that what if we shouldn't wait for the issue to happen, then we do the planning. But we should be having the plan up front. As soon as it's happened, we then throw in that safety responses or the risk responses. That will help us to meet the timeline. So timeline itself, it shouldn't be just a problem. If the competence is right, we'll be able to meet the timeline. That is my take, Honorable William.
I was saying very well said, very well put, Eric. Thank you very much. I wanted to find out, Ben, if you had something to add to it.
Actually, Duncan's got a bit more, but really, as Eric was saying, the key thing that we touched on is if it's all planned out, then you know, in the project management phase, then you know, this is covered. But Dunk's got a more.
Yeah, the we see quite often strict when a lot of the time the strict deadline isn't really a strict deadline. It's the fact that the minister has an event and wants to present the thing, or same in the UAE. The Sheikh has announced that the new airport will be ready on this date. So the new airport's open, but it's not really open. You know, these kinds of things. So quite often when we see a strict deadline, it's not really a strict deadline in the sense of any practical sense. It's a political thing. So then, of course, you run into the issues with politics and management. And like Eric said, if the project's properly managed from the start, these issues shouldn't really come up, but they do. They always do. So the question is, if you're coming in, obviously the project should have, if it's got strict deadlines, you need a proper no-go date. If you have a strict deadline here, you have to figure out, okay, a certain amount of time before that, we have to decide, can we cancel? And if we do, what's the consequence? Or do we have to go ahead? There's a strict, everyone gets together in the room and says, all right, are we ready? We're going to continue. At that point, the question will be, at least from my perspective, when I was a union official, is someone at a leadership position has to sign off that they're happy with the quality of the stage that the project's going to be at or is at. And that's normally where people get a little bit uncomfortable, senior management, you know, saying, you have to say, this is what's going to happen. Are you happy with the quality of this project at this stage? Are you happy that that's going to provide, when you implement in 2 weeks, is that going to give you a safe system? Are you comfortable with that? And usually it's not. Or are you happy that you're going to implement without everyone being trained properly, or with insufficient staff, or because it's running late, like I said earlier, they've cut back on some of the project requirements. So they're saying, we're not going to implement everything now. It's not all going to be ready. We'll bring in some of it. Okay, so then you need to go and redo your risk assessments that you had done months ago, because now you've changed what the actual thing is. But too often you see the end outcome and all the risk assessments and all the paperwork that was signed off doesn't actually reflect what's being done in practice. And quite often, part of the risk assessment says that people need to be trained. And then you find, when I would go in and say, show me where the training records are, They haven't actually been trained. Everyone's signed off and said people will be trained, and everyone's happy with that, but they haven't actually done the training. So this is the kind of thing that needs to be. Timelines are great, deadlines are great, because things don't get done without deadlines. But quite often the deadlines we do have aren't really proper deadlines. Like, very occasionally do you get like Flight Plan 2012 or something like, you have an actual deadline for an ICAO change, but most other deadlines aren't really actual deadlines. So like Eric and Ben said, safety comes first. You can always come back to, are you happy as a senior manager to put your signature on this paper here that says you are accepting that what you're going to implement next week or the week after is going to be safe, judged by all the documentation that you've been provided today that says otherwise. You still want to go ahead on this date, do you really? And then you see how the discussion goes. That's what I have done on several occasions. So that's it. Safety comes first.
I like that. Safety comes first. We are a bit constrained with time, but I would like to push in as many questions that I can before our time is up. Ben mentioned that SkyNav has extensive experience in civil-military coordination. We know civil-military projects often involve sensitive objectives, competing priorities, and classified operations. What are some of the key strategies for ensuring collaboration, transparency, and mutual trust between civil and military stakeholders, especially in airspace management? Ben, you were mentioning this, so I think I'll throw it straight to you.
I get it. Well, Dunk actually is probably Dunk's probably the more knowledgeable one with his direct experience. Do you want to say something, Dunk?
Yeah, there's a new ICAO manual 10088. I think it's 10088, the CivMil Cooperation Manual. I was involved in writing that. One of the military's tendency is to say that everything is classified. Yeah, they love this. They, we need to do something. You want some airspace. What for? It's classified. We need it. Trust us, we need it. It's very important. National security, and that impacts aviation. They don't block, like Australia used to block all these military areas all week, 24/7. Now the Australian military does not work on weekends. In fact, if you want to invade Australia, you can do it after lunchtime on a Friday because no one's there. So, this is the thing, is having a discussion, and usually it has to come at the highest level of the state and say, in the interest of, particularly in the ICAO terms, flexible use of airspace, for example, airspace is a continuum that's shared. It's a state. Remember, airspace doesn't belong to the military. It belongs to the state as a sovereign thing. And airspace also boosts the economy. Efficient use of airspace and flight, routes and all this stuff, and the ability to fly places in your country or between your countries is good for your economy as a state. National security is important as well, but sharing the airspace for the benefit of the country is what the end goal is. And you need an agreement at the highest level of the country normally that agrees in that in principle. And from that, you can work down and get the military to start understanding that just because you want to use the airspace, it doesn't mean you're going to take it away from them. What it means is that when you don't need it, can we use it? Or if we have major thunderstorms and you're doing a training exercise today, do you really need to do that training exercise today? Or can you wait until Monday next week because we're having a significant issue in the airspace now because of weather? These are the kind of discussions that are good to have. One of the best things you can do, if it's possible, if you've got military air traffic, some countries have military air traffic controllers, is to have them in the same facility. There's all sorts of national security issues with that, but we find that when they're working in the same room, they feel like the same team rather than the opposition. When you've got civilians in one building and military in another building, and you get this adversarial relationship. When they're in the same building, they work as a team together, and they see the other guys getting stressed and overworked, and they try and help and work together. They understand each other's roles and responsibilities a lot better when they're in the same room, working as two but combined units. That is a very good thing to do. Just breaking down that barrier between them is a good start. I could take more, but it's I don't want to waste all the time on one topic. But if someone has any questions, it's one of the things I've done a lot of work with is CivMil. So.
And we have, just to emphasize, we have military people as part of the team as well. So actually the integration side of things is something that's something, so one of our specialities, or sort of specialist areas. I just wanted to just quickly, I know we're short of time, Willem, but emphasize what Duncan said a little bit from my, again, operation experience in the UK. The military sort of takes a second step because the spine of the UK, so to speak, is an incredibly important route for traffic going to the US from this part of the world, from Europe, and the military wants to cross from the bases to the North Sea, over the sea between England and so the UK and Norway. They want to go and play, that's their areas, but they always take second place. They have to negotiate, they have to coordinate to use those corridors, because the importance is in the economy, actually, unless you're at war. So it's an interesting difference. There are plenty of countries, especially here in Europe and, as Duncan said, in Australia, where the military close huge areas and so on, and that is a bit of an issue. We're digressing from the question, but the key thing that Duncan touched on again is that communication thing, and it's what Eric said in the beginning, and we emphasized, is it's that stakeholder engagement, and it's the communication. It's getting people on board so that you understand what your needs are, what the other people's needs are, what the benefits are, and getting that in balance, as Eric said just now, early in the beginning of the project, so that you all know what you're aiming for. Then the project will go smoothly, regardless of whether it's civil mil, just mil, or a mixture of all of them.
Yeah, if someone wants to help making an action plan on improving CivMil coordination in their country, they're free to contact us. We can help with that.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ben and Duncan. Next question, maybe last but one question. Is SkyNav International able to plan and implement ATM OTAT methodology in a new ATM project? For example, new air traffic control tower, or moving to new airports?
I can't find the buttons.
You got it. I was waiting.
I was going to say yes and more, but Ben, maybe you want to go first, or I can go first.
No, go for it.
So yes, we've done a lot of these projects before. I was involved in Australia in building new control towers, transferring from old and new control towers. Also in the Middle East, I've done transitions from a main tower to a standby tower, the approvals and implementation of the standby tower for about a 3-year period while the main tower is refurbished, and then the move back. Moving airports is a little bit different. You mean like closing one and moving to another one, or new terminals? We've done, like in Abu Dhabi, the move from the main terminal to the new terminal. I did that. At another airport, I did construction of new runway and moving the control tower and the terminal from one side over to the other side of the airport. So yes, but it would depend on the specific circumstance, but in principle, the concepts are the same. So yes, if you needed help designing what is in effect a project management plan for transitioning from one facility to another, or the construction of that and the transfer, yes, we can help with that. The transfer is a lot more operational, and that's often where people forget about it. They like to build the tower and forget that you need to move the facility. You need ghosting, you need mirroring, you need enough staff to be able to do things, you need rollback procedures, you need all these kinds of things. Even Vision, when they went from one side of Fujairah, they moved the tower from this runway. So for the controller, they were looking at, I forgot what the runway was, it's 0523, and when you move the tower to the other side of the runway, the controller's perspective is now flipped. That's now 05 and that's now 23. So everything that they had in their patterns of, when I use this runway, I look that way. It's if you've ever driven in a country where you drive on the right hand side of the car, and then now you go somewhere where you drive on the other side of the car and everything's backwards, it's the same thing. So human factors is a big thing to take into account. So in principle, yes, we could help with that. We just need more details, but yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Just Duncan's really said it all. With the ORAT side of things, absolutely we can help. As Duncan says, we do have direct experience of doing it, and we can certainly help with our team as well. I think it was Abilio that asked it in the questions. So hopefully you got my details. If not, we'll make sure that you get our details, and yeah, we can discuss it as well elsewhere. Dunk.
Just one thing as well, if you're looking at operational readiness and you need someone to help and say that the facility is not ready or not up to scratch, I've done that before as well. I've stopped the end of a project and said, actually, this place is not fit for purpose according to the specs that it was designed for, which sometimes it's easier to get someone else in to say that than do it yourself, but I'm quite comfortable doing that, which upset a lot of people, but that's, taking pride in what you do in safety, that sometimes someone has to, make the statement that it's not ready.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Our time is almost up, but I'll squeeze in a very last question. And I believe that we have a lot of decision makers on and listening to us, learning a lot. But this question I want to pose maybe to all of us, but starting with Mr. Abuaji. As you may be aware, the government of Ghana is planning to set up a new airline for our country, Ghana. At what point is project management expected to come into this project? Is it when they are just discussing or when they want to actually implement? And then, Mr. Abuaji, you can finish off this question by telling us how to access project management courses. Yes, aviation project management courses at GHATCA. So the first part of the question is, at what point in time will project management be considered in this plan to establish a national airline? And then you tell us how aviation project management courses can be assessed.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nyakon. With the very first question, the moment idea dawn on you to roll a project, that is the time you will think of bringing a project manager on board. So at the commencement of the airline to be operational, we need project manager on board coming to form a team to lead the project to a successful end. It is not when the project has already started, then you bring the project manager on board. So at the beginning stage that we are doing the needs assessment, we need a project manager, because the project manager will help us to draw a timeline, give us the dashboard or the roadmap as to what are we looking at for initiating stage, what are we doing at the planning stage, when are we bringing the airline, what will be the activities. So often, projects fail because midway we bring the project manager on board. So as government of Ghana is planning to roll a new project, the project manager needs to be co-opted with the planning. At the beginning stage, he should be part of the team during the meeting so that it gives them direction as to what to be expected from the team, what to be done, what we need not to do, what should be the back plan. In fact, the project manager beginning the project with a team will make a great impact, unlike bringing him after the plan has been done. It is going to be good to involve the project manager at the beginning, very stage of the project inception. That will help. Now, the second question, how to assess GHATCA project management training. In fact, participants are even lucky. Tomorrow, we are even doing information session. There is going to be a project management training we are rolling 7th of July. So all those who are interested, we will share with you our contact details. During my presentation, let me show once again. If you see here, you can show up my presentation for me at your end. In fact, we have our contact details on it. So whoever is interested can then take our contact details. Our phone numbers are there, WhatsApp are there, that of the Facebook. So any of them you reach us on, you'll be able to talk to the administrators for the course. We have our phone numbers. WhatsApp line is there. Facebook is there. Even online, internet, we have a site. So whoever is interested in GHATCA training, the doors are open. Registration is still ongoing. But I have to be frank here. Our class takes only 20 for in-house. online 30. So the earlier you register, the better for you. And for GHATCA project management training, or for GHATCA's aviation customized project management training, you will be able to understand project management practicality. We train with practice. We give you practical sessions. So after the training, in fact, you are going to make a great impact in your industry. And I will entreat my dear friend Ben and Duncan to bring their colleagues on board so that we also engage them on project management training. All other nationals who join this, please, if you want to choose Project Management Center, choose GHATCA. You will never regret from our project management experience. We do practical project management training, and it is going to enhance your department, your organization, project success. Thank you very much, Mr. Nyakon. I don't know if I've answered your questions right.
You couldn't have said it any better. Thank you very much, Eric, and a very wonderful PR you have done over there for GHATCA. And at this time, I would say a very big thank you to you, Eric, also to Ben, and then to Duncan. You have taught us so much, and I, for one, I really am poised to do more in project management, get certified, and who knows, I may be doing or working on some projects in Abu Dhabi very soon. We want to say thank you to our esteemed panelists for their time and the valuable information they have shared. We also want to thank our audience, our participants. Without you, this webinar wouldn't have been a success, and I'm sure you have learned a lot. We want to thank the executives and members of GHATCA, as well as the GHATCA Technical Committee for making this webinar happen. Our special thanks also goes to the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority for their immense support over the years. We are very, very grateful. To the team that worked tirelessly to make this webinar run smoothly, I say Ayiko. To Mike and the rest of your team, you have done extremely well. To our audience, you have been so phenomenal. This webinar indeed would not have been a success without your participation, and we are grateful that you joined in. Keep joining every webinar that we would have, the future ones, and you will learn a lot. Also, keep checking our website and our social media handles and be the first to know when the date is announced. At this time, I would say thank you, or in our local dialect, medase, or akpe, or muchunka. Bye-bye. See you later.